Hi, everybody. Starting again because I accidentally turned my recording off. Anyway, so what we're going to do today, I'm coming to you from the DeKalb County Library System. It's just been good. This is really good. Anyway, DeKalb County Library System to do another tutorial. And this time we're going to use some hardware, going to use some hex nuts. Thank you, Dion, for the suggestion. I started not to do it because hardware, hex nuts are expensive. I mean, if you're only doing one thing, maybe not, but if I'm doing a whole group of people, then I have to buy these in bulk and they're expensive. So I started not to do it, but then I decided to bite the bullet and just say, let's do it. So I'm going to do, and I've also seen some cotter pin bracelets. And a cotter pin is something that's used in hardware type situations too. So I thought, oh, well, that would be neat to put the two of those together. I've seen several ways that you can do it. And I just chose a way that we can do it with this particular bracelet. But I've shown them make the bracelets with just the cotter pins as links, and that was it. We're going to add some beads. I've never seen it with beads, so I thought we would do the best of both worlds. I cannot talk today. Sorry. We're going to have the best of both worlds, and we're going to have the pins, and we're going to attach the unbeaded pins to some beaded pins so that we can make this bracelet. And I think it's going to be really nice. So what I'm using today are our usual tools, round nose pliers, and they're round because these little arms or legs or whatever you want to call these are completely round all the way around. And our square nose pliers, sirens. Anyway, square nose pliers confuse people a little bit sometimes because they're slightly rounded on the outside, but if you look on the inside, they're completely flat. And that's what gives it the square shape when you're using it with wire. If you're ever buying these, I would suggest that you check to see that the inside is completely smooth and doesn't have those teeth on it. Because if you get the kind with the teeth, it can mar your wire, or as a friend of mine said to me once, it makes my wire look like chewed up meat. So anyway, you don't want that. The last thing that you need are some cutters, and they do just that. They will cut your wire for you. I'm also using 20 gauge wire. I'm using antique copper because I think it's going to be a good complement to the silver washers. I mean, the silver hex nuts, and also to the beads that I'm using, which are some patterned wooden beads and some copper colored, not copper colored, but burgundy colored wooden beads. And you don't need any particular size. The wooden beads I'm using are different sizes. I have it anywhere from 8, I think these are 8 and 10. And the burgundy beads that I'm using are 6 millimeter. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, you'll also need a ruler to measure everything out. So let's go ahead and get started and get a move on with this little project. So the first thing that you're going to need to do, shift this light so it's not all glaring. There we go. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is get your 20 gauge wire, and the links without beads take about 1.5 inches of wire. So I've cut 1.5 inches of wire. Oh, by the way, I have determined that I'm going to try. Last year I said I was going to try to keep my tutorials down to less than an hour, and I had a hit or miss situation. This year I've determined to try that again. So I've pre-cut my wires so that hopefully this will go by quickly. But what you need is 1.5 inches for our unbeaded links, 1.5 inches of wire. Then you'll grab your round nose pliers. Let me bring this down a little closer. Grab your round nose pliers. and find the center point of your wire and slide it back to the back of your pliers. And just find the center. Get as close to center as you can, or you can measure it and find the center. Excuse me. And then you're going to fold the wires over your pliers. Now I can see that one of these is a little tiny bit longer than the other, so I'm going to adjust it to get them the same size. And basically what I'm doing is rolling the shorter side over a little bit so that it matches the length of the longer one. And then I'm going to cross my wires over just like that. Until I have that. So my wires are crossed. Then I'm going to take them off of my round nose pliers, grab my flat pliers, and right there at the crossing point, just to the right of the crossing point, I'm going to put a bend in my wire. I'm just going to bend it straight up. So right there, turn it up like so, and then I'm going to turn it to the other side and do the same thing on the other side. Let's turn that straight up. Just straighten that out until I have side by side lengths. And you can see where one of them is a little longer than the other. And all I need to do is cut those down to the same size. That's too short for me to hold, so I'm going to turn it down into my little spool and snip that off. Oh, that's not tight. There we go. Get in there. And so now I have two little lengths of wire side by side. Let's see if I can straighten this out a little more. It's a little bit bowed. Yeah, that's better. And so now I just need to make a double loop on the end here. So I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, slide it down about halfway down my pliers. It doesn't need to be a big loop. So I'm going about halfway down my pliers, make sure nothing's sticking out the back here. Push my little wires together as closely as I can get them and still have them side by side and not overlapping. There we go. And then I'm going to make a loop. Now be aware that I'm using round nose pliers, which means that the pliers are gradually getting smaller as I go towards the tip. So what I'm going to do is turn it over to the other side because this one's going to be a little smaller than the other one. Turn it over to the other side and then slide it back in and adjust it so that they're both the same size when I finish. And that's what we have. So that is my cotter pin. The next one is going to have a bead on it because I've decided to make it beaded. So for that, I need to cut twice as much, or depending on the size of your bead. You want to give yourself a couple of inches extra in addition to your bead. So if your beads are measuring an inch, a full inch in length, you want to give yourself 3 inches, which is what I have here. I'm going to do the same thing. Find the center, slide my wire back to the back of my pliers. fold my wire over my pliers until they meet, and then cross them over. Like so. Keep this close together. And so there, that's what I have. And then again, I'm gonna grab my square pliers and right there at the meeting place, which is here, I'm going to go slightly to the right and turn the wire up. So that's what I have now. And then go to the other side and do the same thing. Slightly to the right, bend the wire up until both lengths of wire are side by side. And there's my little pin. Let's cut off the little excess that I have. This about a fraction of an inch too long on one of them. Snip that off till they're both the same length. And now I introduce my beads. And the way I'm doing it is over there. Why is that so far over? A little overlapped. Fix that. Stand up, stand up. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is put on a bead. And this is why I said you need large hole beads, because two of these wires, both of these wires are going to go through at the same time. And then I'm going to put on a hex nut and then another bead. So I wanted to show you that, but before I put those on, I have to link them to this link right here. So before I put anything on, before I curve and make the double loop, I have to link it to the other bead. So you're going to have to design this, decide how you want it to be from left to right or from right to left, because it's not a start in the middle and work your way out type of thing. Okay, so I'm going to slide one of the legs of my wire, one of the lengths of my wire. I'm going to take the double loop and slide it right in between those and down in the open loop. And then I'm going to put my beads on. One bead on, X nut, and another bead. Okay, and I need about 1/2 inch to make my loop, which is what I have here. So I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, squeeze my little wires together, and slide down about halfway down my pliers again. Make sure nothing's sticking out the back so I can get a clean loop and rotate. Now, the other thing is I want all my loops to be going in the same direction. This one's going down, so I'm going to loop this one down as well. So again, I have to be aware that one of these is going to be a little smaller than the other unless I turn it around and adjust. Okay. Make a little loop. And there we go. This is a little bit loose, but when I put in, that's why we have a large fold bead, but when I put in my other link, it will come together. There we go. So let's do another one. Let's do another short one that doesn't have a bead. Again, I'm going to go to the center of my wire, slide it down to the back of my pliers, cross my wires, wrap my wires around my pliers, cross them over, like so. Take them off the pliers and grab my square pliers and turn my wire up on the one side and go to the other side and do the same thing. Move my wire up. And push my wires together. There we go. And let's cut the tiny bit off of this tip here because it's not quite even. And let's make my loop. Oh, before I do, remember I said I have to hook it up before I make my loop. Virginia. Slide that double loop in between the little stems here. And slide my wire in between my pliers back in the back. No, nope, nope. This one has to go up here, right in the center here, right in the center of my pliers, and make my loop. So I'm going to start on one side and flip to the other side so I can get them even, just like I did before. And there we go. So here's the start of it. Yeah, hold it up. So there's the beginning of my bracelet. Let's grab another one. Anyway, it's the same thing. It's very repetitive. You just keep making these little links until you have a full bracelet. So what I'm going to do now is finish this off, and then I will come back and show you how to make your clasp. Be right back. Okay, so here is my bracelet so far. And now all I need to do is determine, yes, this is going to be big enough. And now I just need to, oh, that's nice. Oh, now I just need to make a clasp. And I think I'm going to, I want to put a bead on it. I would love to do another length of this, but I think it's going to be, make it be too long for a clasp. So I'm just going to use one of the beads to add to my hook. And because it's got a built-in loop, I don't even need to make a loop. I can just attach it to the cotter pin that's on the end. Isn't that great? So what I need to do is I'm going to get about 4 inches of wire and make one of my favorite clasps because it's quick and easy and very sturdy. And we are doing hardware, so we want sturdy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is measure about 1.25 inches from the tip of my wire. And I'm going to put a bend in it. Let's put a bend in my wire and just fold those two ends as close together as I can get with my fingers, and then finish it off with my square pliers. Just squeeze them together. You got to be patient with yourself when you're doing this because your wire is going to fight against being squeezed. Just be patient. Take it slow. There. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is go down here to the bottom where the end is, and I'm going to give myself about 3/4 of an inch to an inch. It depends on how long you want your hook to be. And I'm going to fold this bottom part straight up and away from the other wire. So that's what I have. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers, hold on to both of those wires side by side, and I'm going to wrap the short tail around the long tail. And I only need one or two wraps. And it's a very short tail, so that's all you're going to get anyway. So just wrap that around. And I'm going to clip it off. And what I like to do is put the tail, make sure that it's in the back, and I like it to be between the two wires instead of on the side so that it doesn't snag anything. Let's turn that little tail down into the spool. Pop down in there. You can see I've got all kinds of little tips of wire in there. And I'm going to take my pliers and squeeze down that little tail. Yeah. Then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to introduce my bead. Put my bead on. I like to decorate my clasps. I'm going to bend my wire off to the side here. Grab my round nose pliers. And I'm going to just make a loop that's, it only has to be halfway down my pliers. And I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to bring the wire over the top and down the side. Then I'm going to open my pliers without shifting the wire. And I'm going to turn my pliers like so and bring the wire the rest of the way under my pliers until I have a loop, just like that. And before I go any further, I'm going to slide it on my bracelet end, the end with the double loop, just like we did all of the other links. Slide it in there until it's inside the loop. Oops, get back in there. There we go. Then I'm going to grab my little loop. Okay, I see something. See, remember I said you need a large hole bead. The large hole bead is going to require more wrapping. Otherwise, this bead is going to just slide right off, which is exactly what it's doing. So I'm going to have to redo my clasp. So I'm going to need to let's get my little 4 inches, I'm going to have to make my bended part of my hook longer. All right. So instead of 1 1/4 inches, I'm going to give myself an inch, full 1.5 inches. Bend my wire again. Push the ends together, the little lengths of wire together. Okay. Until they're side by side. Go down here to the bottom, and now I'm going to give myself a full inch of wire. Bend that up. Okay, grab that with my pliers, and I'm going to wrap that short tail around the long stem. I'm going to give myself several wraps on top of each other because it needs to block off the hole of my bead. It needs to be big enough so that my bead won't slide down past it. Okay. Tuck my end. Let's slide on my bead and see what I've got. Yes, very good. Very, very good. And now I'm going to bend my wire off to the side. That's straight here. Make my loop. Doesn't have to be huge. Just go down to the center point of my pliers. Bring my wire over the top of the pliers and down the side. Then reposition my pliers and bring the wire the rest of the way around until I have a loop. Now let's attach it to my bracelet. Slide it in the double loop, or slide the double loop in there, open loop. Go. Grab my square pliers, hold on to the face of my loop, and wrap that tail around the stem between the pliers and the bead. Very short, so I'm going to use my other pliers to finish it off. Push down that end. Nice and tight. Go. And now I just need to make my hook. There's my end. I like that to go under my hook. So what I'm going to do, get everything nice and neat. I'm just going to put a little bend. Just bend it back just a little bit like that. So it's a little bit at an angle down there at the base of it, of the base of the wire. Then I'm going to go to the tip of the wire and I'm going to put a little ledge in it. So just a little tweak like that. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers, slide them down under that little ledge that I just made. Give myself maybe about 1/8 of an inch. Slide it to the back of my pliers, and I'm going to rotate just like you would with a loop. open, reposition, clamp back down, and keep going till I have the shepherd's hook. There it is. This is one of the cutest. Everybody says, oh, that's so cute. Right? I did that. And here, I love that clasp. And here is my bracelet. Yay! I love it. Let's try it on. Okay, where are you? Here it is. Oh, my goodness. I'm having technical difficulties getting this fastened. Come on. Okay, there we go. Oh, there it is. Oh, I love it. Okay, let me stop tapping all. There we go. There is my bracelet. And there's my clasp that just goes right in with my bracelet. I love it. Thank you, Dion, for suggesting this. I love it. Let me go to the other camera so we can see a little bit bigger. Oh, there it is. I love this. And I hope that you'll make one of these. This is really neat. Get some hex nuts from the hardware store or Walmart or wherever and make one for yourself. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll let me know one way or the other if you did. And get in contact with me at jewelrygin20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com, or the library Facebook page at facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's facebook.com/DEKALBLIBRAY. Hope to see you soon. Oh, and also we've got the videos on YouTube. So if you go to the YouTube, the Facebook YouTube, or the library YouTube, the DeKalb Library YouTube page, and subscribe, you will be advised as to when, or alerted as to when the new videos come out, which is every week. So hope that you enjoyed this. Forgive my fumbles of the way through it. But I hope you enjoyed this, and you'll let us know one way or the other. I hope you'll make one and you'll show us pictures, because I always love that. But until then, see you next. Oh, and welcome to 2024, because I know this is coming out sometime in January. So enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.